Hi, this is DMG's Bootstraps and Business. I'm Savannah Jones, and today we're going to talk about diversification and reputation. Bob Nippert owns multiple companies across multiple industries, and he says being prepared for the ups and downs of business with diversification can help you, your staff, and your business stay afloat. And there's been a lot of change over the last year, so we're going to find out how he has navigated the choppy waters of the pandemic and how he's maintained a loyal staff over 20 plus years. Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thanks for making the time.
Oh, absolutely welcome.
You got a lot going on. Let's touch base on the companies that you're involved with right now.
Well, we have a steel fabrication company, and we have one that's outside of Portland. And then we also have one in Mississippi, which down in the southeast United States, obviously. So, and then also we have U.S. Meat and Restaurant Supply, which is basically works basically on the east side of Portland, which is a USDA recut plant, supplies, restaurant supplies, and meat and that type of stuff for the restaurant communities around here. And then we also have a retail facility out here in Sandy.
And you're from Oregon?
Yes, I am. I am actually from Sandy, Oregon. I was basically raised here in this small community out here and went to high school right here locally.
And during the summers, in your youth, you worked for your dad. What did you do, and what was the company dynamic with your dad when you were a kid?
Oh, working with my dad. I mean, you were required to work, number one, and you started from the bottom. You know, you did anything and everything. So it was just something we always did, and it was what was expected, honestly, during those times. And it's definitely different nowadays.
Well, we talked a little bit because you and I have talked before the interview about growing up and being required to work. I mean, there were no other options other than to work. And your dad had that entrepreneurial spirit, diversification. He always had something going. And that's kind of where you picked it up along the way. Tell us just a little bit about that when you were in high school and working for your dad, and, what you thought your path was going to be, and then how you came back to working with your family's business.
Well, that's a long story, but yeah, my dad was he was an entrepreneur, and basically started with nothing. Came back, he came out of the Marine Service. My mom dragged him up here, basically started with zero. Got an opportunity to learn a trade, which is similar to what we do in the steel business now. Worked his way through, got lucky, and he always told me a story of he always appreciated one banking lady that actually took a chance on him and loaned him $2,000 to get him started. And that was the beginning. So started a business in the late 60s, sold that company, went in, had another connection, started a restaurant business, turned around and sold that company, and then started U.S. Metalworks, is where I am today. So
and you had different plans, right? I mean, you'd work for your dad in the summers, and you're like, great, thanks for the opportunity, Dad. That was a great way as a kid to make some money, but I'm busy, I'm out here.
Yeah, I actually went through college. I was actually a computer science major, and I graduated from Western Oregon with that degree, business minor, and then you get out to the real world and you're married and you got a kid coming and you have no money, so you're out there scrapping and trying to find a job. I was interning down at Port Portland, computer science. Then it was to a point of you have to actually find a paying job to support yourself. And it just ended up that he offered me more money than I ever had back then, which was not very much. And that's how I started back in the family business. He kind of
So,
paid me
so,
off.
so, and that's what happens. And that's what happens because that is the real world. I mean, what
Yeah,
you think it is and then what it really is, two different things.
yeah, exactly. I just basically took the best opportunity for my family at the time, and here we go. We start into the family business. Uh, at that time, I was earlier on. Of course, I traveled and I worked summers and all that stuff. Had the tools on. I still did when I came back, but I was brought in more in the office atmosphere, learning the business more. So that's where I gained more of my knowledge of basic business. Granted, I had a degree, but you learn hands on is what you really do.
So getting back into the family business and really starting at ground zero, having worked in the summer, but that was nothing like what you stepped into when you actually got a salaried position and starting at the bottom and then growing with the company. Let's talk a little bit about that company and where it was when you started, where it is now, and kind of, the fluctuations that you've had to ride through and how you managed to do that, because everybody just went through, the pandemic. We're still in it. And so
Sure.
everybody's been touched by change. So what does it look like to ride those ups and downs and get to the other side?
Well, it's a real challenge at times. There's obviously a cycle. Everybody knows you have a cycle in business. And when I first started, our volumes were not very much. We had one facility here on the West Coast at the time. Basically, we went into a huge in the late 80s, went through a transition here in the West Coast of we had the spotted owl issue, environmental issues, put down 350, 400 mills that were our customers. Basically, we were drying up at that time. So we had to make a decision if we were going to follow the work or if we were just going to shut down and do something different. And obviously, my father was around at that time. And so we decided to go ahead and follow where the work went. So we went to the Southeast United States, traveled throughout the Southeast there. Luckily, got with Mississippi Power Light. They showed us a bunch of facilities down there. Very great opportunity in the South. Got a new facility, bought it, got great tax breaks, so on and so forth. Whatever you can do to survive if you're starting up a new facility, basically a new company in the Southeast United States. And then you start growing. You live there, you live it, you do everything you can at that time. And I actually stayed down there for 4 years myself. My family started it, finally got it going, and then I ended up coming back up here and started running everything. And then, ups and downs are definitely something you have to deal with. There's always cycles.
And you and I talked about diversification. We started out and talking about U.S. Metal and Timberline Meat and your father's entrepreneurial spirit and his various companies and in the restaurant business and the steel business. So how does somebody do that now? Because there's a great opportunity now with the pandemic. Lots of change has happened, but that has also opened up a lot of opportunities. So somebody who's, looking at it like, well, I've always done it this way. What can you say that gives them that extra boost to say, well, has it worked for you in the past? Or, maybe you should take a left. What can you say from your experience to help somebody right now that is really a challenge?
Well, back on the entrepreneur side, I mean, we've gone through ups and downs like I talked. We've had to diversify. I mean, normally those are forced onto yourself because of the economy or whatever it is. You put too many eggs in one basket. early on you learn that you better have more than one leg on a stool and be able to withstand the ups and downs of the industries. So then a perfect example, what we ended up with us in around 2003, there was a huge downturn. We were very limited. We were more wood products based, which what I mean by that, our customers are in the wood products industry. We were not diversified. Well, then when things start drying up, you have a big slowdown and you don't have any work, you really start to think, maybe we should have diversified. And that 2003 range is where we started going into safety products. We started going into different areas, ASME code vessels to all over different avenues to put that extra stool or those extra legs underneath. If one industry goes around, you can go into the engineered wood area or the sawmill area, which is all wood based, but those are so the importance of diversification is very, very important to anything and everyone. You always need, I was always told that it's great to make the money, but you better set it aside for the rainy day. And that's every up and down. You better be prepared to, if you have to, take it out of your pocket and put it back into the companies. And that's where a lot of people fail. You always have to think about the rainy day if that ever happens, and be willing to put it back in. Otherwise, most likely you have a higher chance of failure
and having to start over at ground zero again.
Exactly. So put your money away. And
right. Good advice. Well, I know that you are from Sandy, Oregon, and your dad started the company, and now you're the CEO, and you've diversified and jumped into different industries, but you've maintained a lot of key players in your staff. How do you do that over the years?
Wow. I've been very blessed. Most of the people, my management team's been with me 25, 30 years. You just got to treat them like family, on the good way. You know, but
I get it.
Yeah, but no, it's we're like a family, a big family. We know all our employees. We know their families. It's we try to treat them well. We always have an open door policies. Anyone, anywhere, doesn't matter who you are. We'll take questions. We try to solve and help everyone. And obviously we do something pretty good because almost all of my people have been with me forever. And, you know, it's a lot easier to run a business with as many parts as there are if you don't have people you can rely on and take care of your people.
And what do you think has been very consistent in regards to you and how you work with your people, but also work with your client? I mean, do you feel really important, an aspect of who you are that has gotten you to this point and over the years?
Sure. I mean, obviously, your clients and your your relationship with your clients and the people you work with. I mean, you always, if you tell a person a certain thing, what you have to do, and you have to follow through, if it's good or bad or ugly, it's your word. And your word is everything to me. So it's your reputation. That's why all these years we've got all these customers, and they always seem to come back because we always do what we say we're going to do. If it's good or bad, if I feel that I can't do the job, I'd rather tell you I can't do the job than actually tell them I can do the job and fail. So you always think about the customer or the employee or whoever you're working with, and you try to make them look good. Because if I told them that and I failed, he's going to get a black eye because of it, and he's going to be the guy in trouble. So you can't make him look bad. So your goals are always making your customers look good. Even if they don't know, you help them. If you see a problem, you correct them and assist them, especially the younger kids coming out of college. That the older I get, the more and more you see it, but you have to mentor those people and let them grow, because those kids or adults, even if they leave, if they leave with a good positive impression about yourself, they'll bring you right along with you. So you might be working here one day and you might leave, and tomorrow you're in a project in another state. It's a return business. And it's all about how you treat people.
Right. It's investing in your people, and in turn it comes back. Absolutely. You put the good out there and it does come back.
It does come back. It does come back. You'd be surprised, even after years, you don't see a person for years. All of a sudden, here he comes, pops back up. I remember you, we have that relationship. So it's very.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
You got it. That's the only way you can survive out there anymore.
Well, you are in various industries, and with Timberline Meat, let's talk about that specifically and the pandemic and kind of the challenge and kind of what happened and that path and where you are now with that, because that was a big change in status quo.
Yes, yeah. Timberline Meat actually is our retail arm of a company called U.S. Meat and Restaurant Supply. That was mainly hit. Obviously, we all know about the pandemic. We cut our sales went down to 20%, maybe even less than that. It's just got destroyed. Those poor restaurant people, there's the ones that really took the major hit. I mean, obviously the suppliers, which was us, we took a huge hit too. Luckily, 4 years ago, we decided to go out, diversify, went into the retail side, which is what you're talking about, is Timberline Meat, which is, it's a startup butcher shop. It's a nice, the quality cuts, choice are better. It's good quality, good service, nice and clean, which I'm very strict at. It's a nice looking store, and that's where we're looking at expansion. But the pandemic, it was kind of like a double-edged sword. The wholesale side went down to zero and nothing, and we could barely survive, which is a real true fact. And then on the wholesale or the retail side, it actually doubled its size. So we're kind of blessed on both sides, and the combination of the two kind of kept us afloat. So it's not good. Hopefully, the pandemic is starting to calm down a little bit here, and restaurants we're seeing them starting to open back up. We're not even close to the volumes we were, but at least you see some light at the end of the tunnel here. And we've lost you're always going to lose some customers because of it, and we have. So we'll just have to build it up from there.
Well, that speaks to your entrepreneurship in regards to diversification, because it's a startup and you refer to it as a startup. It's not the lane that you originally were in.
No,
It was directly, hugely affected by the pandemic. And because you had all your legs on the stool remained standing, and we're coming out, fingers and toes crossed, on the other side of this. And specifically to the startup Timberline Meat, you saw an opportunity for where people started ordering from home, as everybody did. And, people weren't going to the grocery store. People weren't going to the mall. People weren't going out. They were having things delivered. So you made a change and you brought in a home delivery service.
Yes,
so you were pivoting and changing and moving with what was currently happening in your market.
that is correct. I mean, we basically, you had to get your all your online store. You had to get so you could order online, curbside service, went into home delivery. Anything we could do to service your customers and build your customers. I mean, we actually did the online service also at the wholesale side for service in this local area. And, it's we were selling wholesale out of the plant back here, but it one more, you're helping the local community, but you're helping yourself also, because you had way too much inventories and you had to move it around. I mean, we still have people that want the wholesale or buy online from the wholesale side, which we're going to continue on. But it was more of a service base for our local area, because it was pretty tough there. Obviously, everybody knows this, but when meat was short, flour was short, eggs, people were scrambling pretty well. And it's kind of like, well, we can supply this because we have it, So it was one of those things that we just did, diversifying, so on and so forth. But it's same thing, like I say, with Timberline also. So it's always moving. It's always a moving part, I guess you call it. It's always transition.
Well, what I hear you saying in regards to all of your companies and the various industries that you're involved in is that you have to have the path, but you also have to be somewhat nimble and ready to take the risk, because you never know when that left turn or right turn is going to present itself, and you have to be ready to make the move. And if you're not ready, think it through, but make the move.
I mean, there's been times throughout the years that we've been doing this, certain industries are booming and certain industries are not. I mean, it might be engineered wood, which I consider that, particle board, OSB, MDF, board plants, that type of stuff, which we're fairly large in the Southeast United States. Well, all of a sudden they slow down and they don't have much work, but the sawmill industry takes off, so you shift over into this side. Or the safety, which safety has actually gotten extremely large, because that's insurance, and insurance, your customers like safety products. So that's another foot on the stool that levels out your ups and downs. You try to flatten the curve, as they say in the pandemic area. And that's what you try to do. You flatten the curve. So if there's one bad, you have three goods. And as you have different products, different industries, different types of work, from steel to food, retail, safety products, whatever it is, if one of those are down, some of the others will be up. So every industry is a little different. If we start going into a recession, then we'll be looking at rebuilding and repairs and maintenance and that type of stuff. So you prepare yourself to shift that direction instead of new capital projects, which is the other booming side. So you got to be nimble and be able to see that coming and just go that direction, because that's just what you got to do.
So before we wrap it up, is there any specific advice you give somebody right now who, and because you do have, knowledge of the ups and downs in particular with the restaurants and businesses that have actually went out of business, for like restarting right now, because I know you've through the years at some points been at a very low point in regards to some companies, because that's the way cyclically things go. But somebody who's coming out right now saying, wow, I lost everything and now I've got to, fire up the engines and get this thing going again. Any specific advice you could give somebody right now who's looking at that?
Well, if you do come back and you start wanting to do that, always remember, have that backup plan. Put your money down. Don't be buying new stuff. It's always be able to weather the storm, because that's how you get stable. And I mean, every industry is different. People are different. I mean, it's look to the future and just be nimble and be able to make a change.
It's pretty basic, common sense, boots to the ground advice.
Mm-hmm.
Make a plan and then follow the plan until you have to change the plan and follow the next plan.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you got to do it really quick.
Well, Bob, is there anything else you want to add before we call it good for the day?
Well, no. But thanks for this chat here, Savannah. And
well, I love your story. I love, again, the fact that small town Oregon, homegrown business, 20 plus years with really great staff and diversification and growth and riding the waves, the ups and the downs. It's a great story of resilience and stick to itness. And sometimes that's all it is. Yeah,
it's always have that backup plan. That's all I got to say about that.
So you heard it. Get your backup plan. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Savannah.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. If you'd like to find out more about Bob Nippert and the companies that he owns, you can check out those show notes. You'll also find out information about DMG and these podcasts. As always, thank you for checking us out. We appreciate it. If there's a topic you want us to touch on or somebody you'd like us to talk with, just let us know. And thank you.